welcome back to my channel, and if you're following up with my end of the year series, thank you so much gratitude. And if you do not know what the end of the year series is, I'm linking the playlist down in the description box. So finally we get to the fictional reads, the top 10 fictional reads of 2022, and I am super excited to share this with you. I've saved kind of the best for the last because a lot of books that would be discussed in this particular video, I believe you would love them too. So of course we will start with the usual 10 to 1 order, but before we start there might be some background noises. There's a concert going on right behind my house, so you may hear some music. There are kids playing right outside my window, so you will hear that as well. But please, let's concentrate on this video because this is a super exciting video. So starting with book number 10, and that is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Now honestly, 2022 for me was the year of Lucy Foley because I read 3 books by her. And this is the first book that I read out of the list, and I've realized that whenever you pick up a thriller author, generally the first book that you pick up of theirs is what you end up loving, and I absolutely love this book. It helped me get over my reading slump, and if you've not read Lucy Foley yet, maybe there's a book you should pick up. This book has positive and negative reactions, but it is specifically about this couple, this very famous couple who are actually getting married now, and they are getting married in this remote island off the coast of Ireland. It's a very interesting and a very mysterious book. I really like the way it's written, especially in the POV format, and that's why I'm putting in this list because it helped me. Maybe it'll help you too. The next book in this list is The Shining by Stephen King, and yeah, I am late to the party. I read The Shining pretty much late in my life, as you can guess by now, but The Shining is my type of horror. It's psychological horror that I absolutely love. It is that kind of horror that makes me, feel the creeps. It's that kind of horror that makes the hair at the back of my neck stand. So yeah, I absolutely love this book. If you have not read this book, I highly recommend you do so. And don't wait for Halloween. Read it before that. This was one of my January reads, and I absolutely loved it. And the next book is Hell of a Book by Jason Mott. Now this is maybe a book that you might have not heard of, or maybe some of you might have read it as a part of the BookTube prize, because I was exposed to this book because of the BookTube prize. This book is an interesting book. It is written with the perspective of a writer who's written a very famous book, and the book is just called Hell of a Book. Like, they don't name the book in this book. They just say, oh, it's hell of a book, it's an amazing book, I love the book, and things like that. But it kind of talks about racism and discrimination in a very, very different light. The writer starts hallucinating and a lot of things happen. So interesting read, super interesting, and that's why I ended up giving this 5 stars because I absolutely loved it. But if you get a chance and if you want to read a book that's uniquely written, maybe this is a book that you should go for, especially because of the narration and the way those hallucinations or those conversations are described. And at book number 7, we have Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. And this is very interesting because this is a book that was recommended to me at the White Crow bookstore by Virat, and I absolutely loved it. It was a book that was recommended as a part of, yes, this will help you get over your reading slump. And I did take my time with this book. I took a good 1.5 months with this book. But when I read it, it was amazing. This book is about an intersex person who is actually brought up as a girl. And then, the book starts off with the POV of a male adult, right? And then it talks about how he was raised as a girl, his childhood, and why is he intersex, what is the biological reason for that. And it is a good read for your LGBTQ month, maybe you want to put it in there. And it is also an interesting read on many aspects because it talks about family, ancestry, respecting your elders, and all those things that you hear in the society, especially in the Indian society. Since ages you've been listening to all of this. This book kind of covers a lot of that ground, and it is a complete package of anything and everything that you need to know about growing up in a family that's very, very much tied to their roots. Interesting book. I absolutely loved reading it. I'm sure you love reading it too. The book at number 6 in this list is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. Now, of course, a lot of people like this book, and I read this book as a part of the Women's Prize shortlist. And let me tell you, I absolutely loved it as well. This book is written from the POV of a Martha who has, a mental illness, and it talks about how people need to take care of her, people around her suffer or kind of have to put in some special provisions in order to take care of her because of her mental health issues. It's a very interesting read from her POV. It is a very interesting read to understand, how much effort goes into taking care of your mental health and of taking care of other people's mental health as well. And it is a pretty enlightening book. It is not a book for the weak. It is a triggering book, especially if you've had mental health issues. But I just felt like it was very relatable to me, to my life. And I totally love this book for that matter. And now we get to the top 5, because top 5 are the 5 most impressionable books of 2022. These are the 5 books that impacted me a lot, and reading these 5 books I went aha, like that's the expression to remember. I literally had a eureka moment reading all of these books. So at number 5 we actually have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Yes, I know, super surprising. It's surprising for me as well, but this is one of those few YA books that I absolutely loved, and it did live up to the hype for me. Now, leaving aside all the other aspects of this particular book, because I know that it has parallels with Brandon Sanderson books, but I'm not a fantasy reader, and to read fantasy and love it is a very beautiful thing for me. Okay, absolutely love this book. I understand the hype around it, and I understand why this book is like so famous all over Bookstagram and Booktube and things like that. And I won't say that you should read this book if you do not like fantasy. You should read this book if you like fantasy, of course. But if you want to experiment with something new, like I wanted to experiment with YA fantasy, and that's why I went for this book, maybe you should go for this book too, because it actually lives up to the hype and it is an interesting book for sure. When I started this book, I was very dismissive of it, and Shruti, if you're watching, you'll know this because we've had this conversation. I was just dissing the book and being like, yeah, okay, fine, like I can predict the book, I'm okay. But then what happened at the end was unpredictable, and that's okay. I mean, it was nice, it was good, and yeah, I liked it. So, and that's why this is number 5. Then book number 4 for me is a literary masterpiece from India, and that is Half the Night is Gone by Amitabh Bakshi. I absolutely fell in love with the writing in this book. It has very poetic writing, and it talks about this protagonist of ours who is trying to cope with the death of his son. And then it gets into a lot of other details as well that is very, very, I would say, interesting to discuss, because the way you read the book and the way I might have read the book would be completely different, and your perception of it would be different from mine. I think for me, this book created a huge impact, especially when it comes to loss, when it comes to how you relate a lot of things in life to stories. And this book tries to portray that aspect to you, how fiction and real life can meet at one point and can come together at some point. Although the book is fictional, loss is real in this real world, and how you cope with it is completely on you. Beautiful book, beautiful writing, poetic writing. I absolutely love Amitabh Bakshi as an author because of this book, and I'm looking forward to read his other books. And the next book takes us to 1530s England, and this is The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. Yes, finally I completed the Wolf Hall series after ages. So I had already read Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies in 2020, and only this book was pending, and I actually started this book after Hilary Mantel passed away. This is an amazing read. Let me tell you, people say that this might be like the weakest book of the 3 books, but this is the second best book after Bring Up the Bodies. Okay, so if you've read the Wolf Hall trilogy, let's have a discussion in the comments regarding this, because there might be some conflicting views. For me, in the order, I absolutely love Bring Up the Bodies. Then I love Mirror and the Light, and after that, I love the first book, that is Wolf Hall. Now, if you're planning to read this trilogy, please go ahead and do that. I mean, I highly recommend this trilogy for sure. It is brilliant. It is beautiful. It is time consuming, but it is worth it at the very end, especially with this book. Finally, I loved the way it ended. I love the way that the book was written, and although some people might find it like over explanatory, but that is just Mantel's writing style, and I totally appreciate it. And getting to book number 2. Now, this book has been a book that I've spoken about in this on this channel before and in this year itself, and that is The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. This is my first Elif Shafak book, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Like, absolutely fell in love with it. This book is basically set in Cyprus in the 1970s, where there is going to be a civil war between the Greeks and the Turks, and this is about forbidden love. This is about a forbidden love between a Greek boy and a Turkish girl. Highly interesting book, very beautiful book. Also has the POV from a fig tree, and for me that was super interesting as well. It talks about the refugee crisis. It talks about a lot of things that are happening in the world today through the story of this forbidden love. Finally, book number 1. Now, let me tell you, there was a tough competition between this book and The Island of Missing Trees, because both of these I wish I could put at number 1, but I need to put like the slightly better one at the number 1 spot, right? But that doesn't mean The Island of Missing Trees is bad. Both of them are like right here, like competing with each other. And book at position 1 is The Five Wounds by Kirsten Valdez Quaid. And for me, this book is the epitome of literary fiction. It is amazingly paced, superb character development. It talks about this father-daughter duo who is, living in New Mexico, and they are these strict Catholics. The father is a failed person because he just feels like he's not man enough, and he's in his 30s, and his daughter is 16, so he became a father when he was a teenager basically. And it talks about lost hopes, lost dreams, about what masculinity means, about how can a father be a good father to a daughter. And the daughter is pregnant, so she is going to be a teen mom as well, and he really does not know how to support her. It is a beautifully written book about family relationships, about all of these dynamics in a very conservative Christian family. Beautiful book, a must read. And if you get a chance to pick it up, let's please discuss this book on Instagram, because honestly I have not been able to discuss this book with anybody. But yeah, it's at number 1. I'm hoping that you read it soon. And that's it for my book recommendations. I wish I had some extra recommendations, but honestly no. I want to leave you with this top 10 list right now, and let me know if you've read any of the books in this list. If you have, let's have a discussion in the comments. And if you have any books you want to read, then let's please write that in the comments as well. Please give me an award sign in the comment section, like maybe an award or number 1 sign or whatever it is. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.